I'm standing in a floodplain woodland along the Des Plaines River in northern Cook County, Illinois. It's late April, and the forest floor is alive with spring wildflowers, the beautiful white trillium, red trillium, the gorgeous spring beauty and trout lily, the curious looking mayapple. They carpet the forest floor. Kind of hard to see though. In fact, there aren't any. And the reason for this is because I'm standing in a thicket of buckthorn. Every single thin, spindly sapling you see is a buckthorn sapling, anywhere from 6 to 10 feet tall. They're smothering this woodland. They're slowly strangling these mature native trees you see, which are in very poor condition. And they will eventually become the only species that grows here unless this area receives further management. And the irony is that about 5 or 6 years ago, mature buckthorn was removed from this site, but no further treatment was given. And as you can see, within a short period of time, it has been completely reinvaded by probably 10 times the number of trees, of buckthorn trees, that were initially removed. When these plants leaf out, probably within a 2-week period, you will not be able to see more than 5 or 6 feet in front of you, and you will not be able to walk through this area. It's extremely difficult for me to walk through here at this point. This plant has very sharp, spiny thorns, and they are jabbing me at every turn. So I think I've seen enough of the center of this, and it's time to get out of here. I've now escaped from the buckthorn thicket, and I'm standing at the edge of a clearing, which was also previously infested with buckthorn. But this is an example of a remnant native prairie that is undergoing restoration. This is about a 20-acre site along the Des Plaines. And as you can see, there are no shrubs or trees growing upon it. Everything has been removed. In fact, if we look over to the side, all of this woody material here are the remnants of the trees that were, it looks like they came through here with a brush hog and simply chopped it all up. There are many piles of this along the perimeter everywhere you go around the site. Here we have a downed box elder in blossom. Pretty tree, although can be considered invasive in many cases. But anyway, what I want to highlight here is that I'm standing directly at the edge, and if we simply turn around, there is our buckthorn thicket. And if you walk just a few feet in, you are back in the conditions that we saw earlier. We're looking at a coyote den in the middle of the prairie restoration. The reason I know it's a coyote den is because last fall I witnessed a coyote using it. The site has undergone several prescribed burns, although it doesn't appear to be burned all at the same time, but rather in patches. There's one off in the distance. I don't think it's too easy to see. But without continual management, the buckthorn that is growing along the edge of this prairie here will, in short order, reinvade this area, and it will revert back to what it was for probably the last 35 to 40 years, which was a buckthorn forest. This is a small patch of mayapple that I found struggling to hang on along the trail that had been cleared to bring heavy equipment into the site to cut the buckthorn out of that large prairie restoration we saw a little bit earlier. And this isn't a very large patch. It's maybe a 30-foot diameter circle. Here we see some directly in the center of the trail. I don't know if you can make that out. There's the trail that was cut. But also immediately next to it are buckthorn resprouts, so I don't know what the long-term prospects for these May apples are, although they are struggling to hang on. If given half a chance, they want to come back, as long as there's still some remnant of the population left in the soil. This area is a bit more open. As you can see, it's populated primarily by mature buckthorn trees, with very few of the saplings, the dense sapling growth that we saw earlier. There is some, but it's much more open here. But again, if we look at the forest floor, there's virtually nothing growing that should be growing here. There's a few remnants. This could be wild strawberry. Where is it? Here. I think that looks like wild strawberry, and nothing of much interest, and nothing that is going to carpet this floor with wildflower growth as it should be. And the reason there are no saplings growing here is because of the mature buckthorn trees, which form a very dense shade canopy as soon as this leaves out. And for all practical purposes, this is a very dark, gloomy looking forest, even on the brightest of summer days, simply because the light does not get a chance to reach the ground. And that's an example of what we are looking at here. Here we are a few miles away on the same day. I'm standing in Harms Woods along the north branch of the Chicago River in Glenville, Illinois. And this area has had buckthorn removed very recently. And as you can see a long ways off into the distance. It's very wide open, has an almost park-like setting. It's rather beautiful. However, if we look at the forest floor here, not much has regrown at this point. It's going to take a few more years of some good management practice here, primarily burning and staying on top of the buckthorn. And this too will regenerate into a natural woodland with a lot of ground cover, consisting primarily of woodland flowers, especially at this time of year. It's a good start, although this effort needs to be continued. We're looking at a pile of buckthorn saplings that were probably cut last fall out of this portion of Harms Wood. As you can see, there's still quite a few of them left in here, but some work has begun and they're starting to thin them out. You can see a fair amount into the distance here, but there's still quite a few buckthorn saplings growing here. But with some further effort, this area can be restored, and that is the plan from what I understand. Here we have red trillium, also known as purple or prairie trillium. It hasn't blossomed yet, but you can see there's a flower bud directly in the center, which will open into beautiful 3 red petals. And it's growing, I don't know if you can see this stalk here, but it's growing right in with a stalk of poison ivy. Here we're looking at some buckthorn stumps from some saplings that have been cut. There's several in this area, although they don't appear to have been treated, which will, I'm sure, cause resprouting of these. In fact, you can see the shoots coming off the side, which are already resprouting. So it seems almost a wasted effort to treat these areas without treating the stump. This is trout lily, also called dogtooth trout lily or white trout lily. It's a spring ephemeral, and it's growing right next to a little stalk. Let me see if I can focus on it here. Of multiflora rose, good example of an invasive species next to a native species that's trying to make a comeback here. This is white trillium. It's not as common anymore as the red trillium we saw earlier, but I've seen a few examples here in Harms Woods, so it is hanging on. This one seems to be favored by deer, and that's a big reason the population has been declining. They don't necessarily eat the red ones too much, but this one seems to be a favorite food. It's a day or two later. I have a freshly recharged battery in the iPhone, and I'm back at Harms Woods. And what we're looking at here is flowering trillium. This is Trillium grandiflora. It produces a large white blossom. And if I pan around here, there's a mayapple. We can see several examples of this plant blooming. If I pan a little further, you can see that there's quite a few of them. As far as you can see into the distance, this is a section of Harms Woods that has had a fairly extensive amount of renovation, and it's been ongoing. And this is actually what a local woodland is supposed to look like at this time of year. As you can see, it's wide open. There's a lot of green new spring growth on the forest floor. And as I'm walking along here, virtually all of it is native, which is a very good sign. There are no invasive species at all here from what I can see. Everything I'm looking at appears to be native vegetation, although I can't identify every one of these plants, but from what I know, I don't see any exotics, which I'm fairly good at identifying. So I wanted to point out, as a wrap-up to this video, what is possible. Earlier we saw the destructiveness of buckthorn and how it can wreak havoc with the local ecosystems. But if you can imagine, the buckthorn thicket that we saw earlier was actually much worse at the site that we're looking at right now before it was removed. Although, as I said, they've been doing extensive work here since 1987, and it's really come a long way back. Look at all those white trilliums. Very beautiful. So there is hope. It is possible with a concerted effort and a lot of help from volunteers to restore these natural areas to some semblance of what they used to look like. It's beneficial to wildlife. It's very beneficial to the native plants. As you can see, this area wasn't replanted. These plants have come back on their own simply by having the competition from the buckthorn and from garlic mustard and invasive honeysuckle, simply by having that competition removed. These species are quite durable, given half the chance. And the nice thing about this woods is that there are actually not just the spring species still present, which often happens in restored woodlands. Often it's only the spring ephemerals that are hanging on. There's actually a lot of the summer perennials, which will come up later and bloom later in the year, in the summer and the early fall. Many of those species are still present here, although you can't see them yet. It's still too early for them to have sprouted. But as I said, I hope you got a good example of a before and after view of what is possible after we fight the deadly Buckthorn Monster.